This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
I can't tell you how good I slept last night, John. Like a baby. I laid down on the pillow. I worried about you because I don't want you to get left behind. But I laid down, and if in the middle of the night it happened, I wasn't going to be worried about it. And I woke up refreshed, and I went out in the woods this morning, and it was nice and cool. Got my 5 miles in with my dogs. It was wonderful.
See, I slept so well last night, and I was so comfortable that I thought to myself, if Left Behind happens right now, I'm going to be mad because I don't want to get up.
You don't want to be woke up from your wonderful sleep.
Can we have the Armageddon tomorrow?
Holy cow, wait a minute here. Something just collapsed in my studio. Can we
have the Armageddon tomorrow? I'm comfy, God.
Can you see that I've rearranged the look of my studio here a little bit? I got a new camera. I got a new tripod, new lighting. It's a whole new look for me today.
Do you look the same to me? Same. That shirt looks as good as it ever has.
You know, I see smoke wafting up there.
I'm sorry.
Are you smoking a cigarette again here on live camera?
It's incense.
I don't want the little kids to see that.
Come on. It's an air freshener. It's a wick. I got a mosquito problem in the studio. It's one of those citronella.
So what time of the day, let me ask you this question. What time of the day do you normally start feeling drained, John? Because I'll be honest with you get a little bit moody sometimes when we're doing the podcast, a little bit grumpy.
I'm only grumpy because every day you have notes for me, and I don't like notes.
You gotta have notes. You gotta have some sort of goal, and you gotta improve a little bit every day. You get a little bit grumpy, but what time do you feel like you're done for the day?
Usually right around the time we start the podcast.
Because I know you go to bed really early. What time do you go to bed, like 5 o'clock?
You go to bed at 5 o'clock, and I wake up around 1 a.m. if I'm lucky, so that's 8 hours.
Why do you do that? Why don't you? I mean, when I stopped doing morning radio, which has been 13 years ago, thank the good Lord above, I was getting up at 3 o'clock every day. I would get home at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, try to take a nap, usually unsuccessfully, and then I would work on my voiceover business. And I was living on 4.5, 5 hours of sleep a night for years, and I was perpetually PO'd, bad mood, grumpy, hard to be around. And when I stopped doing that, it took me a couple of years to get to the point where I could sleep till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And I've accomplished that now, and it's not going to get any better, I know. So I go to bed early, but when I say early, I mean like 9 o'clock. You go to bed at 5.
I've always been an early. Let me go. Fucking dog next to me. Motherfucker.
I wish you could hear John curse out his dogs. It's the greatest thing you've ever heard.
God damn it!
Using the Lord's name in vain. I don't agree.
Fucking siren.
I don't agree with that. Yeah, John, when it happens, that kind of language, you're going to get left behind if you don't clean up that language.
I'm sorry, people. You need to keep your dog quiet. If my dog was making that kind of racket, I'd be out there and hollering at him and telling him to get back in the house.
All right, back to the thing. What time of the day do you start feeling, drained? Like, I've had it with today. I'm ready for today to be over.
All right, so probably 2:30, 3 o'clock, I start winding down, locking doors, doing my teeth.
You start locking you turn the porch light on at 2:45.
The porch light goes on right before I go to bed about 4:30.
Now, you keep saying that. I've heard you say that before. Do your teeth. Do you have a special routine other than brushing?
I do. I floss every day, and then I brush 3 times a day. So my grandma used to call it, we would, when I'd go visit Grandma, we'd play cards. We'd play gin rummy.
Right.
And then she'd say, one more game, and then I got to go do my teeth. So I kind of picked that up from her.
She probably had to take hers out to do them.
She did. Doing teeth for Grandma was different than I do my teeth.
Yeah. So you start the process of going to bed at about 2:45, and you're asleep by 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock,
Wow.
I am out like a light, in for several rounds of REM stage.
Well, that's amazing. But anyway, there's a new poll out that says most people start feeling drained. We've kind of had it with the day by 11:54 a.m.
That's rough.
It is. Now, I don't. It's more like 4 o'clock.
Well, they're talking about people who work real jobs and 9-to-5 jobs. We do some voice work. I do a little bit of work, and that's about it for me.
But, more and more, like my children are examples of this. My daughter and my son both have these jobs, these newfangled jobs, where they take personal days and they take mental health days. And more people are doing that in these companies. They just go along with it. They go, okay, are you sick? No, I just need a mental health day.
I think that's a good thing. Listen.
Yeah. I'm not against it. We just never had it,
We never had it, and there's a lot of stuff we put up with that people would not ever put up with today. Bosses getting in your face, screaming at you, yelling at you, and you look back on your life, and I'm still mad over things that were said and done to me when I was at such a young age, and I wish I could have taken a mental health day.
Yeah, I mean, we if anybody needed it, you and I did.
Yeah, the radio business is very horrible, mean, spirited business. It was terrible.
People thought we had the easiest job in the world. How hard can it be? You go up there and talk for 4 hours. Well, they don't realize that you spend 4 or 5 hours off the air getting ready for that 4 hours. They don't realize that in the audience, there's always a-holes who hate you. And
they're the ones that call.
And they hate you so much that they call every day to tell you how bad you suck, or they write emails, or they complain to the sponsors. It's just endless. And then the consultants and the program directors, those are the worst. These are people who never had any actual success in the industry, but they're experts on telling you how to do it.
See, I would wake up early and leave my wife in my warm bed and get in my car and go to work and put on a really good show and be very happy with what I did.
No, I didn't mind that part.
And the program director would have notes, would tell me what I did wrong and how I should have done this. And I'm like, my God, it was a very. I kept thinking every job I would get would be better and things were going to be better.
Just more pressure.
It's more pressure. And even Mark Thompson of Mark and Brian, I interviewed him a few years ago. Even when they were in L.A., the morning show, they were getting yelled at. They were being treated like bums.
Because the program director is under more pressure. And then when you mature a little bit and you realize that the entire sales department is depending upon you to create ratings, which they can sell to make their living, it was a lot of pressure. I never realized how much pressure was on me until I got out of that pressure cooker.
And plus, and on top of that, you got to come up and be funny, Mr. Wacky Zany for 4 hours.
Exactly. I mean, that part of it was fairly easy. But the other part sucked. But let's just take a deep breath and let all that out, John, and start over. You ready?
We can start the whole podcast over?
No. Let's just let out a deep breath and get rid of all that radio angst. You ready?
Okay. Radio guys, when they get together, all they do is immediately start going, did this guy ever do to you? Did you know this guy? And then you get all mad about meetings you had 25 years ago.
I feel much better now. By the way, we were talking about this the other day, the plane crash in India. And what was it, 248 people dead, but one guy made it out and lived.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're doing interviews with him, and I don't understand this. I read this article last night, and it said, I don't know what the guy's name is. It said people are beginning to question so-and-so's story about surviving the air crash. As if, what, you think he faked it?
Yeah, he said he jumped out. That's
You think that he wasn't really in the crash? He just showed up and cut himself up all over and stumbled away from a burning airplane for fun? Well, what he said was, when the plane crashed and it was stuck in the apartment building, he said, I came to and I saw a big hole in the side of the airplane and I walked out of it. But they're beginning to question his story. If I'd survived that plane crash and people question my story, I would be pissed big time.
Boy, he's going to get some kind of payout, too. Imagine the money coming his way.
I don't know if he will or not in India. Look who joined me in the studio. Murph's here. Hey, Murph, how you doing, buddy? This right here keeps me grounded, this boy right here.
I gave my dog a bath yesterday.
No, I just let him go swimming in the lake. But I don't know in India, I'm not sure that they have the same laws that we have. They'll say, hey, you live, that's what you get.
Yeah, you'll be blessed in the afterlife.
Yeah, in your next 7 lives, you'll come back with 9 arms and 18 cows. You'll be happy forever. So I don't know what he'll get. But I don't get it. I don't understand why they're questioning the guy's story.
Well, everybody has questions, Everybody always thinks it's a conspiracy. Everybody thinks it's a false flag and somebody's trying to pull a fast one.
Now, John, I know that you are an individual who's kind of on the edge, kind of again, grumpy, kind of a nervous energy
I'm
kind
not
of a guy.
This is what the term gaslighting means. You're telling me I'm away and you're that way.
I know occasionally medicinal products are used to calm yourself, keep yourself on the straight and level. But let me ask you this. Have you ever drank something called liquid death?
Is that the water?
It's the most confusing product in the world.
Yeah, you think it's an energy drink.
Well, I would see it in the store, and I'd say, I would never drink that, because I don't drink those energy drinks. Like Monster, Red Bull, never.
I drink 2 a day.
Never had one, never wanted one. I have 3 cups of coffee in the morning, that's it. But we were at me and some friends were at a concert, and they were selling liquid death, and it seemed like everybody had one, and it looked like it's like a tall boy can. Remember the old tall boy beer? It looks like that, and I think, wow, that's a big energy drink. These people are going to be up all night. And I didn't think anything about it, and then a few days later, I was reading a story about liquid death and about the guy that founded it, and it's just water in a can, just plain old water.
It's water in a can.
Now,
it's sort of like several years ago when Smart Water came out. Everybody was like, oh, this is the good water. It was the cool water.
You had to be dumb to buy Smart Water because it costs more. But have you ever had one, this liquid death?
Yeah, and it tastes like cool, refreshing water out of a can.
Yeah, I don't get it. I have a filter at home, and I run the good old Charlotte chlorine-filled, fluoride-filled tap water through my filter and fill up my water bottle. That's all I drink.
Check this out. So last year, when I was still full-time employed, you live the good life. You start getting convenience. And I was getting the bottled water delivered to my house every month.
The big 5-gallon.
Yeah, and I had like 6 or 7 of them on a rotating basis. I was spending $71 a month last year on bottled water. Well, flash forward to the end of the year, I got, what's the word?
Canned?
No, I don't want to say canned. I want reduction enforced. I was reduced and forced.
Okay.
And I bought a pure, like a $9 pure filter to put on the faucet.
Exactly what I use.
I saved $71 a month now in drinking water.
I'll tell you the other thing about those water services. I could never figure out the freaking bill.
It's always weird, and they'll invoice you.
Yeah,
and
it was the most confusing invoice, and I said, there's some game they're playing here to get extra money out of me. And I was the same way. And finally one day I just said, no more.
And that's why they don't want you sitting down figuring out how much money you're spending on water. Because when I thought to myself, $71 a month, I had a wake-up call.
And you're renting that little cooler thing that the water comes out of.
$15 a month.
Yeah, it's like having a modem. You can go buy a modem yourself, but you're paying them for the thing the water comes out of. You're paying them a deposit on the container, and you're paying them for water, which is free.
Cold water that you could just stick a pitcher of in the fridge and it'll already be cold.
I have a guy that I've known for 30 years now. He lives in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. His name is Billy Prim. And Billy Prim came up with 2 great ideas. He's a Wake Forest guy, and he was a good business guy before, but he came up with 2 brilliant ideas. He went on a safari kind of a thing in Africa, not where you go kill stuff, but just an African tour, right? And they went to one of these parks where there were rhinos. And he looked at these rhinos, and he gets an idea, and he comes home, and he starts a company, which you have heard of. All of you have heard of it. It's called Blue Rhino.
Yeah.
And his vision was the rhino, the horn, would have a flame coming out of it, right? And it's a propane company. And so he comes up with this great logo, and he buys a local propane company, changes it to Blue Rhino. And then he got other people interested in the idea, and he went out and started buying up gas companies. Like he would go to little towns, and if they had a 2 or 3 propane companies, he'd buy them out and change them to Blue Rhino. And eventually, they were all across the country. Every grocery store, Walmart, Home Depot, they all had Blue Rhino propane exchange tanks. And he built a big factory in Winston-Salem where all the empties come, and they fill them. They paint them every time. And it's great. And he sold the company and got filthy rich.
The Blue Rhino guy.
The Blue Rhino guy. Used to play golf with him all the time. Real nice guy, too. And then the other idea he had after that, he bought the minor league baseball team in Winston-Salem. He was piddling around with that. Then he came up with another idea. And I can't think of the name of this one, but you've seen it. He invented, or he had somebody make it for him. You know the 5-gallon bottles of water you're talking about that they deliver? Yes. Okay, well, he came up with one that was made totally of corn byproducts. Is biodegradable.
Like
right?
the plastic containers they have at the grocery store.
Instead of being plastic, this one is made out of byproduct of corn, and it's biodegradable. And instead of it being delivered, you bring the bottles to the grocery store, and everybody has them. Publix, Harris Teeter. There's a machine there where you fill up your 5. That's his company.
That's his company.
That's his company. It's all over America again.
So he's the guy that you get the water from at the Publix.
Yeah, he's done it twice now. Came up with great ideas that made him rich.
You should have been a better friend to him. Maybe he could put you on his payroll somehow.
I was a really good friend. He never offered me anything other than a round of golf every now. Not really.
Did you ever
nice
ask him, hey, if you ever need me to come work for you and do some stuff?
No.
Oh, because if you were rich, Jack, I would totally hit you up for a job.
Yeah, I would expect you to. I would turn you down, but I would totally expect you to. Well, it happened again yesterday. Another politician trying to make the news cycle got arrested for trying to defend illegal aliens. Some guy running for mayor, was it mayor? Of some place in New Jersey starts a scuffle the way that Padilla fellow did the other day and wound up getting arrested. And did you see the guy? He is going to run for mayor of New York. And they were trying to explain the way it works now in New York. There's a new way. I heard it explained. It's very confusing. But the way the ballot works is different. There's a term for it. It's called ballot of choice or something. But anyway, AOC was in this big parade in New York a few days ago with this guy that's running for the new mayor of New. We're going to run for mayor of New York.
Quick aside, AOC's kind of losing her looks. I think she's put on about 15 or 20 pounds.
I agree.
Yeah.
Pressure's getting to her. Anyway, she's in a parade on a float with this guy, and they show on Fox yesterday this guy's commercial. It's hilarious. He's walking down the beach, and he goes, I'm going to freeze all rents in New York City. I'm going to give everybody in New York City free health care. I mean, it was just a list of socialist things he's going to do, and nobody screamed in the background, how are you going to pay for it? he just was smiling and doling out promises of this, that, and the other. And then they went to some other Democrats, and they said he'll never make it on the ballot because of the preferred balloting. I forgot what it was.
I think it's going to be Cuomo. He's got the name recognition. He'll be the one.
Cuomo's number one. And I don't get that after how he killed all those people during COVID.
That don't matter. He's a Cuomo.
He killed all those old people by sticking them in the nursing homes, and they all died of COVID, and nobody could go help them or save them.
Gosh, and he did the best he could, though. We didn't know.
And he lied the whole way through. He thought he was president there for a minute. Remember when he was doing those press conferences every day? And go,
yeah.
Welcome to the governor's mansion. Today we have done this, that. We're in control of COVID. We're doing the best job in America with COVID. Meanwhile, people are dying all over New York, particularly in the nursing homes.
And, I really didn't hear a lot about that because at the time I was watching CNN, so I would see him and his brother every night just glad-handing up and hugging each other, and I didn't hear all the bad news.
Well, the other thing was his brother not only ran cover for him on CNN, but his brother... Here's another one that's made a comeback. His brother was as bad as any of the liars on CNN or MSNBC at pushing the Trump collusion thing. Now suddenly he's on Newsmax or something, and it's like he's got a whole different view of the world. It's like
once he got caught, or it was proven that he was full of it, so all of a sudden he does a mea culpa, and now the right, at least online podcast, right-leaning content has welcomed him back with open arms.
Yeah, I don't get it. Because I look at him, he opens his mouth, and I just go, he's a liar.
He's the same guy he was 5 years ago, just like Don Lemon. Every night, if you've ever watched during the pandemic, every night before Chris Cuomo went off the air, he and Don Lemon would do a side-by-side, and he would say, I love you, brother, and Don Lemon say, I love you too, stay strong, and then they would go into the Don Lemon show.
And they hated each other probably in real life. By the way, one of the most successful, popular television producers, writers, directors, executive producers out there is Tyler Perry, who's got this gigantic complex now in Atlanta where he does all these different shows. And of course,
have you ever seen a Tyler Perry movie?
I saw one of the Medea movies, like maybe the first one, but no, they're made for African Americans, and they're made for women, and he just hasn't. I'll tell you what, I was a big fan of James Patterson, the author. I used to read a lot, and I
did too. I like James Patterson.
I used to buy books. Like if I'd go on vacation, I'd buy 4 or 5 hardbound books and take them with me, and I could polish off a book in a day or day and a half. But I read James Patterson religiously, loved him. And then when the Kindle came along, I got a Kindle, and I don't know. I just lost. I don't like reading on the Kindle, and I haven't read as much.
Is it because sort of like with vinyl, to sit down with a vinyl album, you actually have to make an investment. You have to sit down. You have to concentrate. And with a book, you got to keep your placeholder. You got your bookmark. And now everything is sort of like it's become cheap. It's not as much of an experience as it was.
And the other thing is, I think we're more distracted. Back then, when I had a house full of books. And back then, we didn't have social media, or not so much of it, and I wasn't addicted to it the way I am now. Now, I can't sit down with my iPad and a book and not stop and go check social media or something.
What is it with that? If I'm watching a television show and a commercial comes on, I used to be bummed out because now I got to sit through the commercials.
Not
now
anymore.
I just pick up my phone and see what's doing.
Yeah, if I were an advertiser, I'd stop advertising because nobody's watching the commercials. They're going right to their social media. Anyway, the point is Tyler Perry is being sued. And I can't say it, well, back to my point. I was a big fan of James Patterson, and I loved his series Alex Cross, the detective. Do you read any of the Alex Cross novels?
No.
And Tyler Perry starred as Alex Cross in the movie version of the book. I didn't think he was very good, and then I don't think they made a second one. But
did that movie do well?
I think it did okay just because it was James Patterson, it was Alex Cross, but they didn't do another one. But anyway, Tyler Perry is being sued for sexual harassment and sexual assault by an actor. Now, your job, John, guess. Is it a man or a woman?
I'm going to say that it was a person who has worth and value as a human. And that's all that matters.
That was not the question. The question was, do you think it's a man or a woman? Your answer, please.
My answer is, well, if what he did was illegal, it shouldn't matter.
It was a man.
I figured it was a man. That was what I was going to say.
Derek Dixon claims Perry made several unwanted sexual advances and pinned him against a wall and groped him. And he's a big guy. You know, Tyler Perry's a big guy.
Now, I'm going to be fair and balanced and say, let's hold off any judgment just because it happens to be.
I'm just reporting the story.
If it was a woman accusing, like a Harvey Weinstein, we're so quick to judge Harvey Weinstein. I say let's step back and think about it. I got a question about this. When you're someone as powerful as Tyler Perry, why do you need to? You make a move, hey, and she says no. And you're like,
ask Bill Cosby.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not beyond the realm. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
I think there's they get some pleasure out of it, that they have some power over the person and that they can get sex from them because of their power or whatever. Anyway, this guy says for years Perry's has used his power and influence to molest, abuse, and sexually assault impressionable, vulnerable employees and actors who went to him for guidance and mentorship, and he wants $260 million for the
See, if he just asked for 15
pain.
or 20, he'd probably get paid, and they wouldn't say anything. But let me ask you this. When
you
get
for 260, you get 15 or 20.
That's true, too. When you get to a point What is it about all these powerful men and women who, once they get all the money they need, they immediately, like P. Diddy, they just turn to weirdo, freaky, deaky stuff? Is that because that's the only thrill they can get?
I think they were always that way. P. Diddy, I think, is evil. I think he is demonic. I really do. He's going to definitely get left behind, John. Stay away from P. Diddy and his ilk.
If you see an orange crumpled up jumpsuit, you'll know that P. Diddy was innocent the whole time.
They're all going to be left behind when the big day comes. Be ready.
Just leave his behind alone.
Be ready. I'll tell you who else is worried about getting left behind. He's making some lifestyle changes. Willie Nelson. Now,
I can't believe the man is still with us. Is he 93 now?
Willie is, he's waited a long time. He's 93 years old, and he's given up the pot. No more smoking the pot. He's been smoking pot his entire life.
See, to me, that's awesome. He's 93. He's been smoking pot since probably 70 or 80 years, and he's still on tour. He's still among us.
I don't think he's out there much anymore. He's under the care of his sons now. But he says, quote, "I can't smoke anymore. My lungs have said don't do that." So, I thought he'd actually quit.
Is he doing gummies?
He's doing gummies.
Oh, well, good. Problem solved.
He didn't give it up at all. He's just eating the gummies instead.
And at his age, he can put them in Werther's Originals and Ensures and stuff that's kind of age appropriate for him.
There's a battle brewing here in North Carolina and South Carolina. They want to, there's certain people in the legislature that wants to push through medical marijuana. Now, I have some experience in this area, in California and in Florida. When I lived in California, I used to play golf with this guy, and right outside San Diego, there's probably 5 really successful casinos, Indian casinos there, Native American casinos, excuse me.
But
there was one, it may be the only failed Native American casino in America. And it's between, if you leave San Diego and go out through Ramona out into the desert, it's kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. And they had partnered with a good partner, one of the big hotel chains, and they built this beautiful casino and a hotel up there, and it just flopped because it was just in the middle of nowhere and there were closer casinos or whatever. Well, the building sat empty for a long time, and you drive by. We used to go out in the desert, and you drive by, and they had a security guard there all the time. And one day, this friend of mine said, we were playing golf, and he goes, "Yeah, I've been out there at the casino." He worked for the power company. He said, "I've been out there at the casino. We're doing some work out there. They're getting ready to make some kind of a marijuana testing facility or something out there." And I said, "You're kidding." He goes, "No, they're putting in all sorts." Well, what they were doing, the medical marijuana was getting ready to pass, and they knew it, and they were bringing in power, and they were building greenhouses to grow weed. And now, John, this place, we went out just to look at it. So you drive up there, and there's about 20 greenhouses. And, I mean, you'll turn a corner, and the smell of weed will just knock you down from where they're growing it. And then back then, not anymore, but back then, if you had a prescription, you went in what used to be the casino, and they had all this weed everywhere and edibles everywhere, and you showed your medical card, and you could get it. Now, recreational marijuana is legal in California. But you know what? The thing that the lawmakers say they want to do, they say, well, if we legalize it, it'll get rid of the cartels and the illegal sale of marijuana. It doesn't. It gets worse. You know why?
Because the black market.
No, because they tax it so much, it's more expensive than the weed or whatever you can buy off the street.
And they can still ship it off to other states where it's still illegal.
Yeah.
You know that there's more people that smoke weed now than drink alcohol?
Sure. Well, here in North Carolina, we have the Cherokee Band up in the mountains in Cherokee, North Carolina. And the state always likes to overreach. And so they decided they were going to do a casino, and the state had all these stupid rules, like you couldn't have a real dealer. It had to be a machine. Like the Indians were going to cheat and take your money or something, you know.
Well, you know how they are with giving.
They've ended that now, but now they have medical marijuana on the reservation. So you
How?
You can drive up to Cherokee, and you have to see one of their doctors, and you get a medical marijuana card, and you can buy marijuana. The problem is this.
You have to go see Chief Black Bear to get you a marijuana card?
Dr. Chief Black Bear, the medicine man, and you get your weed. The problem is it's against the law to leave the casino with it, the reservation with it, and you can't use it on the premises. Think about that. How dumb is that? You can't smoke it on the reservation, and you can't take it off the reservation.
Well, that's sort of like it's not illegal to have a substance, but it's illegal to deal it. You know, there's always a fine line. Out in Vegas, I was out there a few years ago. You can go into the dispensaries, but you can't buy anything unless you're a resident with an ID, a Nevada state license.
Right, right.
But even if you get like a friend of yours who lives there to buy it for you, you can't smoke it in a hotel. You can't smoke it in public. You have to smoke it in a private residence. You can't smoke it while driving. So there are always these rules that almost make it.
Do they have a test for that now?
Marijuana test, like a blood test?
Yeah, like a breathalyzer test.
Well, they have a blood test, but it's so right now you can fight it with a good lawyer because not everybody's blood is going to have the same blood pressure, the same amount.
North Carolina, I don't see us getting medical marijuana anytime soon. I think they got a better chance in South Carolina, but South Carolina screws everything up. I mean, I remember when they got liquor in South Carolina, and they didn't have liquor bottles. You could only buy mini bottles. Mm-hmm.
Restaurants,
bars, they didn't have liquor bottles. They only had mini bottles. That was
in America, that's how America is run, by a bunch of dumb rules. Because do you know that it's not illegal to purchase marijuana, but you have to have a stamp from the government that authorizes you to be an authorized buyer, and they've only issued 6 stamps in the last 75 years. So if you had a stamp, if you can apply for one, which would make it legal for you to purchase and have it, but they give these stamps out to like basically nobody.
I didn't know that. I'll tell you this. I maybe already told you about going to the farmer's market and the CBD guy at the farmer's market. Did I tell you that?
No.
Well, I go, when I run out of tomatoes, I start going to the farmer's market. They got a great farmer's market here, open-air farmer's market. And I'll go up there on Saturday morning to buy some produce or whatever. And one of the indoor stalls, there was a guy that had these big glass jars full of buds. Mm-hmm. I mean, it looked like pot.
Looks like pot.
Big old pot buds, right? Mm-hmm. And it had a sign that said CBD. And I said, "What is CBD?" And he goes, "Oh, it's it's not marijuana. What's the other name for hemp?
It's a cannabinoid. It's hemp."
And he said it has some of the same chemicals in it, but not the same ones. It doesn't have any THC. It's got a different chemical. Well, I opened that thing up and smelled it, and it smelled just like pot. I said I'd have a tough time going down the road if the highway patrol pulled me over explaining that this wasn't really pot, it was hemp.
I'll tell you the difference between CBD and pot, okay? Let's say that pot is a Coca-Cola.
Right.
CBD is Sam's Choice caffeine-free Diet Coke.
Well, apparently people have told me that it does get you high, and the drug that's in it is called Delta 8.
Yes, which is like one molecule off from being THC.
Right. And South Carolina has banned Delta 8, and other states are trying to because it's so close to actual marijuana, and of course kids were getting into it and all that stuff.
And the way they know this is because in 2018 the Farm Bill passed, signed by Donald Trump, which allowed you could grow hemp at that point, which meant a lot of these labs could start learning about it and discovering new ways to extract this and that. That's where you have D8, D9, D10,
right.
THC, higher forms, higher potencies of THC. And they only have known this because they've only legally been allowed to research marijuana and hemp for about 6 or 7 years.
You seem to know an awful lot about the subject.
Well, I like to watch documentaries on YouTube.
Just saying, he seems to know a lot about the subject. Well, the other thing about hemp, it has so many uses. I mean, back in the olden days, back in the
the 60s?
Well, now back in the 1800s, they grew the hell out of hemp all over America. They made rope out of it. They made cloth out of it. It was used for all sorts of things, and I don't know who got it banned Alcohol, the alcohol producers.
Alcohol in the 1930s, plus a lot of Mexicans smoked marijuana. So they wanted to make it kind of like, oh, you don't want to be like that. That's for those crazy savages down there. And it became just a propaganda thing. But now we see that it was basically 75 years of prohibition.
Yeah, it was. All right, so one last thing today. I want to ask your opinion on this because I think if it happens, it's going to happen, I think, within the next 48 hours. Do you think that President Trump is going to give the green... Oh, and don't let me forget, we have some comments. Do you think that President Trump is going to give the green light and that we are going to go in with the giant bunker buster and bomb that last nuclear place in Iran?
I think we're going to have to, and I think he's feeling bad about this because he promised no war, and sometimes it just be that way where you really can't do a whole lot about it, but I don't think he wants to.
But if we just do that, I mean, and we don't send any troops or anything, if we just use it to destroy that nuclear site, that's really not going to war.
You can call it what you want. That's not going to occur.
If you think about it, the Israelis have pretty much decapitated the government of Iran and never set foot in there. They've flown over it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Supreme Ayatollah is having to pick up his cell phone and call those missile batteries and tell them to launch because there isn't anybody left to give orders to. I mean, they've killed every general, every intelligence person. It's crazy.
Well, Donald Trump wants to resume trade with Iran after so many years. I just hope we have a relationship with them at this point.
Yeah, and he's put out some. He said the Israelis have been saying this, but Trump said it yesterday. He goes, "We know where you are, Supreme Leader. We know exactly where you're hiding. We can get you anytime we want to." And supposedly, the Israelis wanted to kill him, and he said, "No, let's not," because he thinks that would make him a martyr and would make it even worse. All right, let me go quick here to some messages, John, if you don't mind.
Oh, we're great. Sort of like a program director telling us how our show was.
No, these are just people who watch, the long-term viewers. Here's a comment that poured in yesterday, which I can't read. Let me see here. It says, this is from Kenneth Freeman, 9000. It says, "Hey, Murph, do you miss the Triad?" Yeah, I do. I miss my friends up there. I miss playing golf with my friends up there. Let me see. Then I got one from Missy Lynn 4018 who says, "OMG brainwashed." Is she talking about me or somebody in one of my conversations?
She might have posted that when she heard us make a comment about something, and we don't know what she said yet. Let us know what we said. Who's brainwashed? Is it me? Is it Jack? We got to know.
Yeah. So I don't like the way these YouTube messages come in. They come in my main email, and I have to. Anyway, I'm not going to hunt for them right now. Anyway, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember, it's all up to you. You got to subscribe. You got to like it. We're trying to get to 150 subscribers by the end of the week.
End of the year.
It's Wednesday, and I want to be there by Friday.
150 subscribers? That's a lot. I feel like we're Jerry Lewis every day. We just need you to pick up that phone and make that call.
That's right.
It's up to you.
But all you have to do is click your mouse a couple of times, and you are a subscriber.
And subscribe.
Anyway, thanks for being with us. We'll be back tomorrow with another Jack Murphy podcast.
I can't wait.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.